Comment, like, subscribe. The bell keeps you notified. It helps the show thrive. The word partner ultimately dates back to the Latin partitionum, which was the nominative form of the Latin partitio, which meant things like sharing or partition or division. This is because the word partner initially referred to someone you shared a parcel of land with. Of course, partner can still mean this to this day, and you can have a partner in all walks of life, from business partners to sports partners to gaming partners. Though today, partner is perhaps a word most commonly used in the realm of romantic relationships. People have been calling the people they've decided to spend their life with partners for quite some time now, though to a lot of people, calling someone you're romantically involved with your partner tends to point to you being in a specific kind of relationship, that being a homosexual or non-binary relationship, basically any relationship that isn't heterosexual, aka straight. Though in recent years, this seems to be changing. More and more heterosexual couples are referring to one another as partners, though this has come with a flurry of debate unto itself whether it is okay or not for straight people to use this language that's for so long been a part of the homosexual lexicon. So can straight people call each other partner or not? Well, if you hadn't already guessed, this isn't a simple yes or no answer. There are compelling arguments on both sides of this debate, though it's worth understanding the history of this word and how it came to be linked to romantic relationships in the first place. As I said, partner was initially used to refer to someone you shared land with. Also slight tangent, but I imagine this is why cowboys stereotypically refer to others as partners, as cowboys quite often owned huge swaths of land. That's just my own personal theory, however, and I just had to mention it, as I couldn't make a video about the word partner and not mention cowboys now, could I? Anyway, how did partner transition from being a term used to refer to someone you owned land with to a term for someone you're romantically involved with? Well, while you could own land with anyone, quite often people would end up owning land with someone they were married to. In the past, marriages were often an economic relationship rather than a romantic relationship. People would get married off to one another so the wealth and land of families would merge with one another, regardless of how the two people getting married actually felt about one another. The Oxford English Dictionary's earliest recording of partner being used to refer to someone in a romantic relationship comes from the 16th century AD, and of course, this was in relation to a married heterosexual couple. The OED doesn't have a written instance of partner being used to refer to a queer romantic relationship until 1977. So in regards to romantic relationships, it seems that partner actually referred to heterosexual couples first, way before it got used for homosexual couples. So why has the term become so deeply linked with the LGBTQIA+ community? Well, first, it's worth highlighting why it took so long for there to be a written reference to partners in a homosexual sense. People were gay way before 1977, of course, but prior to that time, being homosexual or anything other than heterosexual was still pretty frowned upon, at least in the UK and other parts of the world anyway. Homosexuality was only legalised in England and Wales 10 years prior in 1967. Before this, it was literally illegal to love the person you did if you were gay. That's deeply upsetting. But because of this, it meant that even talking about being homosexual was taboo. There was even a form of slang called Polari that gay men used to communicate with each other in public, which stopped them from being caught. This explains to us why it's only in relatively recent memory that we have records of partner being used to refer to a homosexual romantic relationship. Because up until that point, publicly sharing a homosexual relationship was not something easily done. So why was it the term of partner that got picked up by the LGBTQIA+ community? Well, it's because that was the word that best reflected their relationships. Boyfriend and girlfriend are terms that have pretty childish connotations. They are terms we use to reflect romantic relationships we have as teenagers and kids. Robin Biacht, the radio host of the show Sex with Robin, said on the matter, "My mother told me she doesn't want to use the word boyfriend because to her, it sounds like someone she's necking in the back of a car with, and to me, that perfectly encapsulates the connotation of the terms boyfriend and girlfriend. Though while researching this video, I stumbled across the newish term of they friend to reflect someone who isn't of the two binary genders, and that's pretty fun too. Anyway, in heterosexual relationships, couples traditionally went from being boyfriends and girlfriends to husbands and wives. There really wasn't a concept of being in a long-term relationship without marriage, though for non-heterosexual people this really wasn't the case. Here in England, same-sex marriage was only legalized in 2013, and homosexual people had been in long-term relationships way before then. As they couldn't get married, they couldn't legally call each other husband or wife, but they were past the point of using boyfriend/girlfriend. The term partner perfectly fit to reflect their relationships. I guess what also helped with cementing partner as a term for LGBTQIA+ relationships is that before same-sex marriage became legal, in the UK at least, same-sex civil partnerships were made legal in England, in 2004 to be exact. This literally helped bake partners into homosexual lexicon, as in the eyes of the law, they were legally civil partners. Once you understand the history of homosexuality, once again at least in the UK, and apologies for making this video so UK centric, you can start to understand why partner has become the go-to word for the LGBTQIA+ community and their romantic relationships. So how did partner find its way back into the lexicon of heterosexual relationships too? Well, what's interesting is that it kind of followed the same path as it did for homosexuals, except this time there was a lot more choice involved. As mentioned, traditionally, young heterosexual couples would get married pretty quickly, going seamlessly from young boyfriends and girlfriends to husbands and wives. As Kayla Kibb, the author of the great article "Should Straight People Be Using the Word Partner" for Inside Hook wrote, back in the 50s, high school couples went straight from the backseat to the altar almost immediately after graduation. There really was no need for any other names for partners traditionally. You literally were either boyfriend and girlfriend or husband and wife. Of course, that isn't quite the case these days. More and more young heterosexual couples are deciding to not get married while still being in long-term relationships. This has created something of a gap in language for these people. Historically, there hasn't been a term for non-married long-term heterosexual couples to use for one another, and historically, this hasn't been a phenomenon on a large enough scale to warrant a name. Yet now it is, and language hasn't caught up yet. And when you're in your late 20s, early 30s, and onwards, haven't been with the same person for over 10 years or so, calling them your boyfriend or girlfriend just sounds a bit childish. So to help plug this gap in language, the word partner was adopted by straight couples to refer to one another after they'd either been in a relationship for a long time, or were over the age of 16, or were not married. In fact, now heterosexual couples can be partners in the eyes of the law too, as in 2019, in the UK, mixed-sex heterosexual civil partnerships became legal. While that might explain why more and more straight couples are using partner refer to one another, it doesn't explain to us if it's a good or bad thing that straight people are using this term. Well, as I said, there are arguments for and against this use of the word for heterosexual couples. One of the biggest positives, it seems, about heterosexual couples using partner is how it helps normalize conversations about relationships amongst all kinds of people. Certified sex therapist Casey Tanner said on the matter, the more straight and cis folks incorporating this kind of language in a personal way to describe someone they care about, the more this language will become integrated into their interactions with others. Integrating gender-neutral language into our vernacular changes the questions we ask, and by extension the answers we receive. For example, rather than asking a woman, "Do you have a boyfriend?" we begin to ask, "Do you have a partner?" If that woman happens to be queer, the use of gender-neutral terminology actually gives her space to provide an authentic answer, opening the door to connection and relationship. And this ties into another benefit of people of all sexualities using partner, that being it can help protect people's privacy and their identity. LGBTQIA+ educator Dr. Sophia Graham explained, "When I had just come out, I routinely used gender-neutral terms to describe my partner who was a woman. If this is reserved only for LGBT people, then it becomes less gender-neutral neutral and more a term used by folks whose relationships are somehow othered. Though Dr. Graham also understands why many LGBTQIA+ people might be upset by heterosexual couples using partner by saying, "I understand and validate members of the LGBTQ+ community who are having a negative reaction to this shift in language and who view it as appropriative. For a long time, using the word partner was not a choice in the LGBTQ+ community. It was necessary in order to avoid rejection, stigmatization, and at times physical harm. It's understandably angering that straight cis folks now get to opt in and out of using that language, a choice that once again highlights straight cis privilege." Dr. Graham also highlights how straight couples using partner can affect bisexual people in heterosexual relationships too, by saying, "Bisexual people are often invisible and or mistaken for monosexuals of whatever variety our current relationships would suggest. Many bisexual people are in opposite sex relationships, but this doesn't make them any less queer. I would be disappointed to see a linguistic shift that made it harder for these folks to describe their same gender and other gender relationships in similar ways." It does seem that the biggest argument against heterosexual couples using partner all comes down to appropriation. To many LGBTQIA+ people, they had no other choice but to use partner for the people they loved. Now straight people are using it willy-nilly. Though I must admit, there seems to be more people from across the sexuality spectrum who are happy with straight people using the term partner as opposed to against it. There's even instances of married couples preferring to use partner instead of husband and wife. Coco Romack, writer of the great article Who Gets to Use the Term Partner for Vice, got married in 2016, but said in that article, "We prefer partner because it's not gendered. As folks who live our everyday lives on the in-between and upside down of the gender spectrum, think of us as trans demigorgons. Partner is something of an outlier in an arsenal of otherwise incredibly binary means of describing togetherness. In fact, it's the only word equipped to convey the seriousness of our bond without ascribing either of us to a fixed gender. Though we're married, the term also dispels some of the ownership associated with the institution of marriage, calling for a more active relationship and equal dynamic. We're not simply partners in love and sex till death do us part, but we're partners in crime, partners in life, partners in charades, for better or worse. I can count on him to feed the dash hounds when I stay late at the office. He can count on me to take them out in the morning when he's just waking up." And Olivia Harrison, in her article Why Using the Word Partner Feels So Complicated for Refinery29, wrote, "I'm a cis woman in a long-term relationship with a man. The word partner has become the default term more and more. Using the word partner even continues after marriage. The implications are clear. A partner will likely stick around." Also adding in her article that Lau Ziman, the Associate Professor of Linguistics at University of California, Santa Barbara, explains that the term partner de-emphasizes the terminology most associated with heterosexual marriage and traditional gender roles within relationships, which means we may traditionally expect certain things from a wife and certain things traditionally from a husband. A term like partner, however, rids both members of a relationship from any of these connotations. So, is it okay for straight people to use the term partner? Well, it really all comes down to personal preference. The aforementioned Dr. Graham says that from her experience, most LGBTQ individuals feel that it is appropriate for the term to be used by anyone, but that really isn't a universal truth. And likewise, there might even be straight people out there who are in non-married long-term relationships who don't use partner too, and that's completely fine. When it comes to personal relationships between those we are closest to in life, we use all kinds of names, and as long as every member of that relationship is happy with being referred to by that name, who are we to judge? This was honestly just an interesting thought I had that I wanted to manifest into a video. There are many great articles on the matter that I highly recommend you go read for yourself. The ones I use in this video will definitely be linked down below. What's undeniable, however, is that this simple, everyday term of partner can generate a serious amount of conversation. Name Explain depends on viewers like yourself supporting the channel financially on Patreon, so a huge thank you to everyone who does. Donating just $1 a month helps the channel amazingly and gets you bonuses including ad-free videos, exclusive content, and the power to request ideas to be made into actual Name Explain videos. $2 a month gets you all that, plus your name here with all these awesome people. Visit patreon.com/NameExplain or click the link down below to find out how you too can support the channel. Thank you. Thanks for reaching the end of the video. Why not watch another and subscribe to keep up to date on all things Name Explain. You can find myself on Instagram where I'm NameExplainYT, and join the Facebook group Friends of Name Explain to talk with myself and other name nerds. All that will be linked down below. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and once again, thank you all so much.